My brother had severe constipation. In the dead of night, Grandma went to a desolate field to pick eggplants, intending to insert them into his anus. I tried to reason with her, explaining that such a procedure required a doctor's consultation. Grandma brushed me aside. "What do you know? This is a family remedy I've used for over a decade." Seeing my brother in unbearable pain, I forced him to the hospital. The doctor informed Grandma that his condition was critical and required surgery to remove his entire colon. The moment Grandma heard about cutting out his intestines, she berated me, accusing me of deliberately bringing misfortune upon the Lee family and wishing for us to be childless. Then, she drugged me and cut open my stomach. When I opened my eyes, I had been reborn, back to the very day my brother first suffered from constipation. "Leo, what's wrong with you?" Grandma's sharp voice jolted me, confirming my rebirth. In my past life, Grandma had joyfully opened the door, expecting my brother, Leo, to be bringing his girlfriend home. To her shock, there was no girlfriend, only my Leo collapsing dramatically on the ground. Grandma shrieked in terror, rushing to his side, her face ashen. Leo weakly confessed he had been constipated for days. Grandma slapped her thigh. "You silly boy, why didn't you tell Grandma sooner?" Constipation? Grandma has a foolproof trick, guaranteed to clear it right up. With that, Grandma helped Leo onto the bed and went outside to find some long eggplants. She returned and presented them to Leo. "Come on, take off your pants. Grandma will insert this to clear your constipation once and for all." I quickly intervened, patiently explaining to Grandma that anal insertion should only be done at a hospital, but Grandma pushed me away. "You cursed girl, what do you know? Don't you dare delay your brother's treatment." With that, Grandma forcefully shoved the long eggplant into Leo's anus. Leo screamed in agonizing pain. I ignored Grandma's protests and forcibly took Leo to the hospital. I used my hard-earned salary to cover Leo's medical expenses. The doctor told my grandma, "Leo requires surgery to remove his entire colon." The moment Grandma heard about cutting out his intestines, she grabbed my ear, scolding me as an ungrateful wretch. "If they cut out his intestines, won't he die? Do you want to end our Lee family line?" Yet, despite her fury, I stood my ground. Leo was wheeled into the operating room. After more than 10 hours of emergency surgery, he was finally out of critical danger. Post-surgery, the doctor informed Grandma that Leo not only had a perforated intestine, but also a huge, tentacle-shaped plastic object lodged inside. It's fortunate his sister brought him in time, otherwise, we would have been preparing for his funeral. Grandma, instead of thanking me, drugged me and cut open my stomach. In my dazed state, I saw Grandma's fierce gaze upon me. "If someone has their intestines cut out, how can they live?" "I'll cut out your intestines too, let's see if you can survive." Anesthetized, I was powerless to resist. Just like that, I died a gruesome death in a shady, back-alley clinic. To my astonishment, I was granted a second chance at life. My grandma, just as in my previous life, went to a desolate field to pick eggplants, which were crawling with unknown insects. Grandma didn't even bother washing them, elegantly declaring them all natural and more effective for anal insertion. I watched her actions, a frown creasing my brow. Grandma bellowed at me, "What are you staring at? Go get the condoms from the bed and lubricate it for your brother." As I went to retrieve the condoms, I remarked to Grandma, "The eggplant you picked is too small. It only treats the symptoms, not the root cause. If you want a complete cure, you need that big eggplant next to it." Leo overheard this, and upon seeing an eggplant as thick as his arm, pursed his lips. Finally, I handed the condom to Grandma. Leo, puzzled, asked why Grandma possessed such an item. Grandma simply gave him a knowing look. Today, Leo was bringing his girlfriend home, so Grandma had specifically gone to the village's garbage dump and retrieved a box of expired condoms. When she ripped open the packaging, a putrid stench assailed my nostrils. The condoms were even moldy. Seeing this, Leo tried to squirm away, but Grandma flipped him over, swiftly pulled down his pants, smeared the condom's lubricant onto the eggplant, and shoved it in. The moment Grandma pulled down Leo's pants, I quickly fled the house. Leo's piercing screams echoed through the house, followed by a rapid, rhythmic squelching. After a long while, Grandma finally emerged, dripping with sweat. "It's done. Your brother just needs one night's sleep, and tomorrow he'll be all clear." Seeing her, I kindly poured Grandma a glass of water, flattering her. Grandma's remedies are truly the most potent. Going to the hospital would have cost tens of thousands, wouldn't it? Grandma looked smug. "Hospitals are only good for swindling money. they can't do anything else. Only my family's traditional remedy is free and saves lives. True to her word, in the middle of the night, Leo began a frantic series of trips to the bathroom. In the morning, I saw Grandma in the bathroom, scooping something from a dry bucket. Leo had suffered from diarrhea all night. He was utterly exhausted and slept until noon. To restore Leo's strength, Grandma prepared roasted eggplant with pork skin. Come on, eat quickly. Grandma woke up early to buy this at the town market. My brother couldn't quite make out what was in the bowl. Mistaking it for pork intestines, he devoured 3 full bowls of rice. Seeing Leo eat with such gusto, Grandma even warned me not to compete with him for food. I set my bowl and chopsticks aside. If I hadn't seen Grandma scooping eggplant from that dry bucket with her chopsticks, I would have thought she made something truly delicious. After Leo ate his fill, he noticed a yellowish substance next to his rice bowl. He picked it up, sniffed it, and immediately vomited violently. Grandma looked at Leo worriedly. Leo, what's wrong? Why are you throwing up everything? Leo's face contorted in horror. Why does it smell like poop? This eggplant. Isn't this the one you used for my anus? Grandma chuckled knowingly. Ha, you wouldn't understand this. This is called treating the root cause with root broth. Pork skin can strengthen your anus, and eggplant can enhance the healing effect. The moment Leo realized he had eaten pork skin, he vomited again. I thought you made imitation pork intestines. Oh, startled, Grandma quickly patted Leo's back, her tone tinged with a hint of grievance. Why doesn't this child understand Grandma's intentions? Leo was so furious he was on the verge of tears, but after a day of torment, he truly had no energy left. That evening, at Leo's insistent demand, Grandma abandoned her plans for a lavish feast and simply cooked some porridge. After eating, Leo's complexion significantly improved, and he announced his intention to go to town to pick up his girlfriend. My grandma was ecstatic and wanted to accompany him, but Leo refused. To welcome her future granddaughter-in-law, Grandma redecorated the bed and even placed 2 boxes of condoms. It wasn't until midnight that an urgent knocking sounded at the door. Expecting Leo and his girlfriend, it turned out to be my eldest uncle this time. Daisy, your Leo has collapsed at the village entrance and had to be hospitalized. Go see him quickly. My grandma was stunned. This was the second time her granddaughter-in-law hadn't arrived. Why was her grandson in the hospital too? Grandma yanked me out of bed and forced me onto my eldest uncle's tricycle. You cursed girl. Sleep, sleep, sleep. Your brother's in the hospital and you can still sleep? Grandma vented her anger on me, pinching my arm. As a girl, I had been undervalued since birth. Every time my brother, Leo, faced trouble, Grandma would take her anger out on me. Lightly, she would pinch and scratch. Heavily, she would beat and kick. She called me a jinx, claiming my birth before my brother had robbed him of his good fortune. In my previous life, I would have endured it, but this time, I pushed Grandma's hand away. His hospital visit has nothing to do with me. I didn't harm him. Grandma's eyes widened, about to scold me, but suddenly my eldest uncle braked sharply. Grandma's front teeth nearly broke. We're at the hospital, we're here. Grandma could only glare at me. You bastard, I'll settle scores with you next time. With that, Grandma awkwardly waddled her stout body and rushed inside. The moment her foot touched the hospital floor, Grandma bellowed, Where's Leo? Where's my Leo? It was 1 a.m., and the on-duty nurse was almost scared to death by Grandma's booming voice. Are you Leo's family? Leo is in the emergency room on the 3rd floor. Knowing Leo's location, Grandma quickly ascended the stairs. Reaching the emergency room, Grandma saw Leo receiving an IV drip and lunged forward. Leo, let Grandma see you. Why is my Leo's face so pale? I, too, was startled by Leo's appearance. He looked utterly lifeless, not just pale-faced, but his lips were completely devoid of color. A doctor approached, holding a surgical consent form. The doctor told Grandma, a huge, tentacle-like plastic object was found in Leo's intestines. Emergency surgery is required to remove part of the intestine. Grandma, upon hearing this, slapped her thigh, her voice rising several tones. Cut out intestines. Our Leo is perfectly fine. Why should his intestines be cut out? My eldest uncle quickly tried to comfort Grandma. The on-duty doctor explained, Leo has a perforated intestine, and the infection has spread widely and severely in his abdominal cavity. We've temporarily controlled it with antibiotics. Grandma was completely panicked. My grandson just had constipation for a few days. How could he have such a serious illness? Leo, next to her, was in too much pain to speak. Grandma asked how much the surgery would cost. The doctor told Grandma a conservative estimate was 20,000 yuan. The moment Grandma heard this, the tension in her eyes immediately vanished. 20,000? Why don't you just rob people? If you cut out my grandson's intestines, how can he live? And you still want 20,000 yuan from me? Saying that, Grandma directly pulled the IV needle out of Leo's hand and tried to drag him away. The doctor stopped Grandma, telling her to pay for the IV drip he had just received. Grandma glared at the doctor, batting away the bill in his hand. You gave my grandson an IV drip without my consent. I haven't sued you yet, and you're asking me for money? The doctor was so angered by Grandma's shamelessness that he was speechless, but if he kept blocking her, Grandma couldn't leave. Grandma feigned gentleness, then seized the opportunity when the doctor wasn't paying attention and dragged Leo out. On the way, Grandma was still congratulating herself on her cleverness. Leo, you have to thank Grandma a lot this time for saving your life. If your intestines were cut out, you'd be dead. Who knows, maybe that dark-hearted doctor intentionally harmed you. Grandma cackled, completely ignoring Leo's high fever. Back home, sweat was steaming off Leo's body. Grandma took 2 cephalosporin pills and poured them into his mouth. Don't worry, Leo, with Grandma's touch, sickness has to retreat for constipation. This time, Grandma has a root cure for you. Saying that, Grandma went to the bathroom and caught a rat. Leo suddenly looked up at Grandma. Grandma, what are you going to do? Grandma firmly held down Leo's struggling limbs. Constipation is due to blocked feces. Let the rat clear it for you, guaranteed you'll be clear for the rest of your life. Leo saw Grandma bringing the rat to his bottom and screamed in terror. He kicked Grandma's face, trying to escape. But Grandma, with her stout body, sat directly on his legs. Leo saw that struggling was futile and called to me through the crack in the door, "Save me, I don't want a rat inserted." Since childhood, Leo had been the undisputed king of the house. I was like his personal servant, attending to his every whim. When we were little and walked to school, if there was a puddle, he would make me lie down so he could step on my back to cross it. If he was caught eating spicy food in class, he would force me to take the blame. If I refused, he would go home and tell tales, and Grandma would beat me with a broom. Leo failed to pass his college entrance exams and could only afford a vocational school. Meanwhile, to save money, the family hid my university admission letter. So, after high school, I began working in a factory. Leo squandered the money I earned every day. As a result, he didn't even finish vocational school and dropped out to stay at home. In my previous life, I genuinely believed he was my brother and couldn't bear to see him tormented by unscientific folk remedies, so I poured all my efforts into saving him. Unexpectedly, after he recovered, the first thing he said to me was, "Who needed you to take me to the hospital? Now I don't even have intestines. How can I live?" I told Leo that even though his entire colon was removed, his small intestine and rectum could still fully absorb nutrients, and he wouldn't suffer from severe diarrhea and constipation anymore. He refused to listen. On one hand, he reveled in the healthy body I had bought him with my sweat and tears. On the other hand, he constantly complained about me in front of Grandma. If he had said a few kind words for me, my uneducated, ignorant Grandma might have spared my life. Leo was also one of the people responsible for my death. Leo used all his strength to crawl to the crack in the door, trying to pry it open, his fingernails bleeding. Sister, quickly tell Grandma to stop." I looked at Leo's desperate expression and couldn't help but smile, but I still had to pretend to be utterly worried. "Brother, if Grandma stops, your constipation will relapse. You must obediently listen to Grandma and use the rat to cure your illness." Saying that, I forcefully removed Leo's hand from the door and slammed it shut. Immediately after, Leo's tragic screams echoed from the room. This time it was even more gruesome than when Grandma inserted the eggplant, and it lasted longer. Hearing Leo's agonizing screams as Grandma tormented him, the scene of my own death in the previous life still flashed in my mind. Due to the unprofessional anesthetist at the back alley clinic, the anesthetic wore off mid-surgery while my intestines were being cut. Tied to the cold operating table, my limbs clamped by restraints, I watched my own intestines being severed, the operating table stained red with fresh blood. At that moment, I fully understood the feeling of being unable to live or die. Compared to the suffering I endured in my previous life, what was this small pain of Leo's? This time, because a live object was inserted, Grandma wrapped Leo's bottom with duct tape 10 times, specifically to seal the rat's tail and prevent it from burrowing deeper. Grandma, utterly confident this time, walked out of the room, patting her chest. This time I saved 20,000 yuan. My family remedy is absolutely reliable. However, since the rat was a live animal, Grandma didn't keep Leo locked in the room all night. She went in to check every 3 hours, but unexpectedly, the first time Grandma entered, she was scared stiff, her face pale. Under my brother, a puddle of yellow liquid had formed. It seemed he had diarrhea. The transparent duct tape was also stained yellow, and saliva kept drooling from his mouth. Leo, don't scare Grandma, what's wrong? Leo! Grandma stumbled over and tore off the duct tape. The rat's tail, stuck to the tape, was pulled out with it. Grandma held the rat in her hand. It had died on the spot. Seeing this, Grandma was as anxious as an ant on a hot griddle. No way, how could this rat be dead? Grandma noticed that even Leo's breathing had weakened. A thick layer of sweat broke out on Grandma's forehead. I quickly handed Grandma an advertisement flyer for anal treatment. Grandma, look, a master of anal treatment, and it's cheap too. Grandma put on her reading glasses and examined it carefully. This was the same back alley clinic Grandma had taken me to in my previous life. The only difference was that in the previous life, Leo had told Grandma about it and received a referral fee. While I was in the back alley clinic, uncertain whether I would live or die, he was outside spending the referral money lavishly. After looking for a long time, Grandma decided to go immediately. The flyer claimed, only 300 yuan can solve the constipation problem. I knew this back alley clinic was completely unreliable. When Grandma got there, they would only prescribe some low-cost, high-dose antibiotics, which would not only fail to cure my brother's illness, but would also hasten his death. Sure enough, at the clinic, everything unfolded as I predicted. The doctor held an unknown machine, putting on a show for Grandma. We went to the town hospital, and they said my grandson had a perforated intestine. Is that true? They also said there was something in my grandson's intestine and that he needed surgery. Grandma's voice was full of contempt. The doctor, hearing this, slammed the table and sided with Grandma. Nonsense. If someone's intestines are cut out, how can they eat and go to the bathroom anymore? I see your grandson is so good-natured. That hospital definitely wants to harm your grandson and harvest his organs. Grandma clicked her tongue, starting to wink and discuss excitedly with the doctor. Grandma thought she was so clever, but she didn't know that these kinds of back alley clinics thrived on ignorant, arrogant customers like Grandma, who were easy to deceive and manipulate. As long as the back alley clinic spoke ill of legitimate hospitals, old people like Grandma would treat it as gospel. That's why this back alley clinic could operate for so many years without collapsing. Leo was injected with many high-dose antibiotics and various anti-inflammatory drugs, and he did indeed become much more alert. Grandma was overjoyed. Only I stood beside her, quietly observing everything. My dear Grandma, make sure your golden grandson isn't just experiencing a temporary recovery before death. More than an hour later, Leo could finally stand up. My grandma called the doctor a miracle healer. On the way home, she even went around promoting this back alley clinic and even stayed up all night at home making a reward banner for the clinic. My grandma was a well-known loudspeaker throughout the village. With her making such a fuss, more and more people wanted to visit the back alley clinic for treatment. Leo recuperated at home for several days, looking no different from a normal person. Grandma again brought up the topic of Leo bringing his girlfriend home. Leo, don't let people think you have some unspeakable illness. Quickly bring her home for Grandma to see. Leo, hearing Grandma's impatience to meet his girlfriend, immediately blushed. Grandma, don't rush. I'll definitely let you meet her today. Leo was shy like a little girl. Grandma completely ignored her grandson's unusual behavior. While Leo was out to pick up his girlfriend, Grandma began a massive propaganda campaign. After all, Leo was the first young man in our village to go to the city to establish himself, so his reputation was very high. Grandma just had to stand at the door chatting with neighbors for a few minutes, and the whole village knew Leo was bringing his girlfriend home. Even Grandma's sworn enemy, Aunt Sarah, wore a floral dress and wiggled her hips to come watch the excitement. Daisy, Daisy, come here, Aunt Sarah called my grandma. My grandma, seeing who it was, changed her attitude. My grandma looked haughtily at Aunt Sarah. Why are you here, jealous of my Leo? Hearing the word jealous, Aunt Sarah burst out laughing. Aunt Sarah immediately pulled out her phone. On it was a video of my brother being pinned down by a black man. In the video, the black man was also holding a huge, tentacle-shaped object. My grandma, seeing this, cursed loudly, grabbed a large broom from the door and swung it at Aunt Sarah. "You shameless woman, are you intentionally coming to my house to cause trouble? You see my grandson is doing well, so you want to tarnish his reputation. Where did you get this video? You old woman, watching such things, isn't it disgusting?" Aunt Sarah screamed as she was hit, and my grandma's mouth didn't stop cursing. "I think you're lonely because you don't have a man, so don't even think about coveting my grandson." After chasing Aunt Sarah away, my grandma was out of breath from exhaustion. When no one was around, Grandma frowned and called me over. "Tell me, did Leo really find a black man?" Grandma was worried. I quickly comforted Grandma. "How could that be? Leo is the pillar of our family." My grandma, hearing me say that, gave me a smug look. "Good that you know. You're dismissed. Go sweep the front door clean, prepare to welcome your brother home." Saying that, my grandma wiggled her hips, humming a tune, and went inside to watch TV. At noon, Leo indeed brought his girlfriend home, and it seemed they came in a luxury car. My grandma excitedly lit firecrackers at the door. "My dear grandson, let Grandma see you?" Grandma's excited voice suddenly stopped. Because the car windows were tinted to prevent peeping, Grandma didn't realize that the person she was opening the door for wasn't Leo. She opened the car door, and what greeted her was a black face and white teeth. The more Grandma looked, the more familiar he seemed. "It's him," Grandma's surprised cry caught Leo's attention. Grandma, do you know him?" Grandma swallowed hard. No, your girlfriend, where's your girlfriend?" Grandma cautiously looked inside the car, discovering that besides Leo, there was no other woman in the car. Leo, hearing Grandma ask about his girlfriend, his voice became hesitant. Isn't she right here?" Grandma, upon hearing this, felt like she had been struck by lightning, nearly collapsing. She was about to erupt in anger, but then saw Aunt Sarah in the crowd. Grandma had no choice but to stiffly welcome Leo's black boyfriend home. Getting out of the car, Leo and his black boyfriend clung to each other like glue, not even caring about the surrounding crowd. Leo's black boyfriend even gave his bottom a hard pinch. Leo let out a moan in the crowd, his delicate voice making the older men around stare. My grandma's head was bowed, not daring to look up. Just then Aunt Sarah shouted again from the crowd, "Our Leo brought a black boyfriend home, so filial to his elders." The people around burst into laughter. Our village valued boys over girls. Finding a wife definitely meant finding someone with a big bottom to have face. Because a big bottom made childbirth easier, everyone would praise them, saying they would definitely have a son. Now Leo brought a man home. Forget having a son, he couldn't even lay an egg. At lunch, Grandma didn't eat a single bite. The black man even stammered in Chinese, concerned for Grandma. Grandma, you not eat." Grandma quickly waved her hand. No eating, you eat a lot." The black man nodded smugly, then ate until his mouth was greasy. After eating his fill, Grandma remembered to ask about the black man's family background. But Grandma, despite all her cunning in dealing with daughters-in-law, had no place to use it now. She could only ask symbolically. Unexpectedly, after one question, Grandma's eyes lit up. "You have 10 villas and 5 luxury cars?" The black man nodded blankly. Leo interrupted Grandma again. "Oh, Grandma, those things aren't important. Money is external. What matters is that he loves me." Grandma quickly adjusted her mood. "Right, you two must live well. You must be very well." Leo, upon hearing this, his eyes lit up. "So, you agree?" Grandma gritted her teeth and squeezed out 2 words. "Agree." Even if he couldn't have children, at least he had money. Grandma even calculated that she would eventually have Leo find a mistress to get pregnant. After lunch, Leo and his black boyfriend disappeared into the room and didn't come out. The noises were so loud that even the village dog passing by had to stop and listen twice. But my grandma, having set her sights on the black man's wealth, gritted her teeth and put on a brave face. Go away. Why are you eavesdropping on other people's houses? Don't you have any shame?" Aunt Sarah spit sunflower seed shells at my grandma's feet. "Oh, old Daisy, your grandson brought a black boyfriend home. You're childless now. Hearing such exciting noises, your grandson will be old someday. You'll have to take good care of him, otherwise he won't be able to hold his poop." Laughter erupted all around. My grandma forcefully chased everyone away. "What do you know? My grandson found someone rich. He has 10 villas and 5 luxury cars." Aunt Sarah, unconvinced, was about to retort when she saw Leo's black boyfriend jump out of the window. He ran for his life. "Drive away, someone's dying." My grandma, seeing this, quickly threw down what she was holding. Leo, what's wrong with you?" Grandma rushed into the room, only to see Leo lying naked on the bed, foaming at the mouth. "Leo," my grandma, seeing this, fainted. Kind Aunt Sarah called an ambulance. The first thing Grandma did upon waking up was to pull out her IV needle and go looking for Leo. "My Leo, if you're gone, how will this old woman live?" The doctor tried to soothe Grandma's agitated emotions, telling her that Leo had a severe perforated intestine leading to widespread abdominal infection and was also in septic shock. I was surprised beside them. Septic shock has a very high mortality rate. Grandma, hearing this, her legs went limp. The doctor asked if Leo had ingested any unknown medication. Grandma quickly pulled out the pills the back alley clinic had prescribed. The doctor said these medications were all unknown products and were highly related to accelerating Leo's abdominal infection. My grandma collapsed to the ground, looking as if she had aged 10 years. Grandma helplessly pounded the ground. "What do I do now? It's all because I was greedy for cheapness and harmed you, Leo, my dearest grandson." Halfway through crying, my grandma stood up abruptly. "No, I have to go find them and demand Leo's life." Grandma grabbed a large stack of test results and medical bills and angrily stormed to the front of the back alley clinic. Outside, a long line of people were waiting, all seeking the master of anal treatment for constipation. Grandma took out the bills and accused the clinic of harming people and selling fake medicine. The people in line, hearing this, all fled in fear. The back alley clinic lost its customers, but Grandma continued to shout, demanding to see the director. Unfortunately, she didn't get to see the director, nor did she get her money back. Grandma was beaten up and then carried out. She was bruised and battered, blood flowing from the corner of her mouth, but even in such a pathetic state, she didn't forget to find a good doctor for Leo. Grandma was afraid of delaying Leo's treatment, so she ran back to the hospital and knelt before the doctor. "Where is your chief? Please let me see your chief to save my grandson Leo." "This old woman will kowtow to you here." The chief, hearing the news, rushed over and quickly helped Grandma up. "Grandma, what are you doing?" The moment their eyes met, my grandma was surprised. "It's you!" So that on-duty doctor was actually the chief of this hospital, a golden hand in treating perforated intestines. Grandma grabbed the chief's hand, crying like a child, completely losing her arrogant demeanor from earlier when she refused surgery. This time, Grandma took out all her savings and cooperated fully with the doctors, but unfortunately, she came too late. After 3 days and 3 nights of emergency treatment, even a golden hand couldn't do anything. The chief emerged from the operating room and told Grandma, "Give your grandson some good food. He only has less than a month left." Grandma, hearing this, felt all her strength drain away. She leaned against the wall and took out a bottle of emergency heart medication she hadn't taken in years, quickly shoving a handful into her mouth. Grandma blamed herself for bringing Leo to the hospital so late. Then she started to hate the hospital chief. Grandma went live online, adding embellishments to recount Leo's medical treatment. Grandma even held up her phone and criticized the chief. "If you had forced surgery on my grandson back then, how could he be so miserable now? How could he only have less than a month to live? My grandson is still a child. Your hospital is unethical, your doctors are unethical." Grandma's words quickly spread online, causing a huge wave of outrage. The chief, who had just finished 3 days and 3 nights of surgery, was already exhausted and now faced the risk of online attacks. I created a secondary account to speak up for the doctor, but was furiously attacked by a mob of uninformed netizens, receiving hateful messages. Fortunately, the hospital's hallway surveillance cameras weren't just for show. The hospital retrieved the camera footage from that day to clear the chief's name. Now, the entire internet knew that my grandma had shamelessly refused payment, causing her own grandson's death. In an instant, the wave of online attacks turned towards my grandma. Even walking on the street, people threw rotten eggs at Grandma. "You blind fools, that hospital killed my grandson. What right do you have to hit me?" "I know, you're all in cahoots with the hospital." My grandma, even now, hadn't truly realized her own problem. Walking on the street, she constantly repeated that the hospital had killed her grandson. This caused another huge wave online. The hospital director also decided not to admit Leo anymore. The money Grandma paid had long been insufficient to cover Leo's hospital bills. That money was still paid by the kind chief to help Leo, but unfortunately, kindness was met with ingratitude. When the hospital discharged Leo and Grandma, Grandma pulled a young nurse aside and asked how much longer Leo had to live. The young nurse, afraid of being implicated with Grandma, nervously jumped aside. "Just prepare for his funeral." Grandma almost fainted again. On the way home, Grandma's eyes were so dry she couldn't cry anymore. She grabbed my hand and spoke earnestly. Grandma only has this dearest granddaughter left. Grandma is sorry, children, Grandma is sorry, Leo. Saying that, Grandma hugged both me and Leo. That was Grandma's embrace, the family love I had craved my entire previous life. Even though I always thought I should abandon family ties after being reborn, when family love truly enveloped me, this blood connection, deep in my bones, still couldn't help but want to lean on Grandma. After being reborn for the first time, I genuinely called out, "Grandma." I wanted to wipe away Grandma's tears when suddenly I felt a sharp pain in the back of my neck. Grandma, from who knows where, produced a syringe of anesthetic. As I was about to lose consciousness, I hated myself for being so careless. When I opened my eyes, a bone-chilling coldness underneath me made me shiver. It was the operating table again, just like in my previous life. I was back in the back alley clinic. The deep-seated fear made me momentarily forget that I had been reborn. Everything felt like a dream, and I trembled all over. But this time, my hands and feet weren't clamped by restraints. The huge spotlight shining down made it impossible for me to open my eyes. I heard footsteps and voices in the hallway getting closer. "I'm selling this cheap girl to you. You must give me money for my grandson." The doctor from the back alley clinic impatiently said, "Go find our director to get your money." I heard Grandma's fawning laughter fading further away. It was then that I realized Grandma, to save Leo's life, had sold me to the clinic. I was unwilling. In my previous life, I was sold to a back alley clinic by Leo to pay off debts. In this life, my fate was repeating itself. Could rebirth not change my outcome? Fortunately, Grandma's anesthetic dose wasn't large. I used all my strength to roll off the operating table. I hid under the bed, wanting to find a chance to escape. Hearing the familiar voices, my body still couldn't help but tremble. Luckily, when the doctor came in, I saw the window was blown open by the wind. I struggled to prop myself up and jumped down. Fortunately, this was the first floor. I was looking for a way out when suddenly I heard someone behind me shout, "Someone's here. That cursed girl ran away." My grandma, carrying her stout body, chased after me. There were people on both sides of me, so I had no choice but to run in the opposite direction. At this moment, I was alone, feeling an endless despair. I didn't want to die miserably in this back alley clinic again. I wanted to live. When human body functions reach their limit, willpower will carry me out of the encirclement. I desperately ran to the main gate, my back pressed against it. In front of me were 3 large men and Grandma. I angrily questioned Grandma. "I'm also your granddaughter, your blood relative. How can you be so cruel to me? Why did you sell me to this back alley clinic?" These were the words in my heart, the question I didn't get to ask in my previous life. Grandma looked down at me with contempt. "Girls aren't worth much money. Anyway, you'll get married someday, and your dowry money will go to your brother. Selling you to the hospital now also gets money. What's the difference?" Hearing Grandma's shameless words, I laughed bitterly. Living 2 lives, Grandma had never truly seen me as her granddaughter. So be it, from now on, our ties are cut. I dodged, and Grandma, thinking I was trying to escape, lunged at me. But unexpectedly, the large gate behind me was kicked open by the police. Grandma happened to lunge right into a police officer's legs and was caught red-handed. The other doctors tried to flee, but they didn't know that the area around the clinic was already surrounded by police. My escape just now was to buy time. I wasn't the first girl to be sold to this clinic, and I certainly wouldn't be the last. That's why, from the moment I was reborn, I went to the police station to report it. I had been waiting for this day for a long time. Grandma was handcuffed by the police, but she still cursed at me to vent her anger. "What right do you have to arrest me? You should arrest this wretched slut. Even after selling you, there's no peace. You cheap thing." Facing Grandma's curses, I didn't retort. After all, this wasn't just a simple curse, but Grandma directly admitting her crime of human trafficking. The police searched Grandma and found the contract she had signed with the clinic. In the clinic's basement, 3 other girls like me were found, sold by their families. My next encounter with Grandma was when the police took her to the hospital to see Leo. Leo was admitted using the money Grandma got from selling me, but even so, his body couldn't be saved. Grandma tremblingly held Leo's hand. "Leo, open your eyes and see Grandma, it's Grandma, Leo." At this moment, Leo was covered in breathing tubes. How could he respond to Grandma? Just then, the door to the ward opened. It was people from a car rental company. Grandma looked suspicious. "You've got the wrong room, haven't you?" the scar-faced man leading them through a damage assessment report for a luxury car in Grandma's face. The car model was the one Leo's black boyfriend had driven home. Grandma clutched her chest, gasping for breath. "3 million? Where will I get 3 million to compensate you? Do you want to take my life?" It was then that Grandma realized that black man was no rich man at all. Even the car he drove to the village was rented. Furthermore, my brother had incurred a huge debt. The scar-faced man tried to forcibly take my brother away. "This old man has been in the underworld for so many years. I've never seen anyone dare to default on debt under my watch. Old woman, get out of my way." Grandma, seeing that they were serious, immediately knelt on the ground and hugged the man's leg. "My grandson is barely holding on, please spare him." The scar-faced man, hearing this, kicked Grandma away. "Get lost." There are plenty of people who fake death to escape debt. I've seen it all. Grandma, old and frail, couldn't stop the group of burly men from rushing in. When they burst into the ward, they found a group of police officers inside. The man gave a forced laugh. "Misunderstanding. Haha, misunderstanding." Saying that, the man immediately left the ward. Grandma thought they would let it go, but would a group of debt collectors really let it go? Grandma talked with Leo for a long time, and the police reminded her that time was up. Afterwards, Grandma was arrested. She would spend the rest of her life in prison. Not long after Grandma was taken away, Leo's heartbeat became a flat line. But even though Leo was dead, the debt collectors didn't spare him. They still secretly took him away. The nurse came to check the room, saw that the person was gone, and quickly reported to the police. What happened after that, I don't know anymore. Anyway, surely the net of heaven is vast. Though its meshes are wide, it lets nothing through. All criminals will receive their just punishment. However, seeing Leo die in extreme pain, I felt a sigh of relief in my heart. Stepping out of the hospital, the sunlight outside also felt especially fresh. Reborn into another life, I not only avenged myself but also gained a new life.